Good morning. Wednesday, October 23rd. Paul's still, I don't even know where, so I got Jordan hanging out next to me, and we're talking about GM, tons of lithium, and air taxis clearing for takeoff.
There we go.
Boom.
Oh,
Hit the drop. Hit the drop. Hump
Timing
day,
was perfect.
Jordan.
Right on.
Hit the drop on hump day. How you doing this? How you doing this Wednesday?
Oh man, beautiful morning. Weather's perfect here. So supposedly it'll be good for another couple days in our area. Not sure about for you guys.
Dude,
and then it's gonna be
there's
cold next
something there. Well, a couple things about your area. One, the fact that like yesterday I was watching the news and apparently like 300 million people in the US are going to be experiencing all-time highs this week for this week. Yeah, like I mean it's only like 3 or 4 degrees
Sure.
in most places, but it's like the majority of the lower 48 will be experiencing highs weather. So it's like this gorgeous, weird late fall thing. But even better than that is next week, we are going to be very close to your area.
That's
recording
right.
the first of our recordings of More Than Cars Season 2 at Rohrman. And I am pumped to be in your area of the world for that.
How long has it been since you've been in central Indiana, Kyle?
Not long enough. I could stay away. Dude, many people may not know this, but I went to school in central Indiana, and like the drive from Cincinnati to central Indiana, there's basically 2 ways to get there, and none of them are straight. But
That's right.
because there's no like just clear-cut way to get there from where I lived. But I will tell you, once you hit Indiana, crossing the border from Ohio to Indiana, it is everything at least is straight. There's no curves. They don't allow curves. And there's only cornfields on either side. It's just like a full run of it. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's like perfect Indiana style is you got cornfields, soybeans. Now, most of the cornfields are gone, even the late stuff they've already went through and plowed. But man, I'm looking forward to seeing Ryan Rohrman, Trey, having you meet a lot of the team for the first time. Like this is the 3rd or 4th or 5th time I've seen some of these people. But for you, I'm just excited for you to officially meet some of them.
Yeah. I met Ryan. Dude is a beast. That dude, I'm telling you what, he works out on the road like 3 times a day. I'm convinced of it. So it's wild.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, so today, if you don't know and you haven't heard, we're doing a quick shot webinar, Edge webinar at 2 p.m. Eastern with a mall of Full Throttle AI, all about finding your shoppers using free TV. I keep saying it like that, free TV, because I think it's just a conversation we haven't had. But you're going to want to go to ASOTU.com, scroll down just a wee bit, register for that. Even if you can't make it, that way you get the recording.
Yeah,
you know
get the replay.
Yeah, that's all I got. Speaking of recordings, we're rolling right into it. And GM has recorded their Q3 earnings, and they beat their estimates with shares surging 8%. Continued strong demand for trucks and SUVs has driven the growth, while GM's revised 2024 profit indicates industry resilience despite ongoing economic pressures. Their adjusted earnings per share were at $2.96, surpassing the expected $2.43. Revenue hit $48.8 billion, outpacing forecasts of $44.6 billion. And their stock jumped to a 2.5-year high, which is pretty impressive. How high stocks have been, to $53.25 on their stock valuation. CFO Paul Jacobson said the consumer has held up remarkably well for us. So they're saying like, hey, demand seems to be there in Q3 of this year.
No, I think that's what works out really well for GM. So they made this bet a couple years ago, well, Chevy specifically, that they're still going to produce these really good models for their gas lineup. So yes, they have great EVs. Yes, they have great gasoline lineups. I think of their truck. I think of the Silverado. I think of the Sierra and how that lines up with the F-150. And that's why a few months over the last 2 years that the Silverado has been the best-selling truck over the F-150. There's just been a lot of intentionality that has built up over the last couple of years to get to where they're at. I mean, what's your take on that, Kyle?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the smart move that GM made early this year was to realign their manufacturing process to make sure that they were balancing against their EV push.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're seeing that in the results of GM dealers. And One thing that I hear a little bit of issue with their GMC trucks right now as far as like demand. But on the Chevy side of things, they're obviously winning, and like it's proving out that like the consumer demand is there for the margins and the profitability, and the shareholders are responding. So they're doing something right, and that's good for the overall industry because they're a massive part of the overall U.S. market share.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody wants to buy their shares. That's why shares are up, right?
Yep, exactly. Well, speaking of massive,
Segue time.
So some researchers have found that southern Arkansas's Smackover Formation may hold up to 19 million tons of lithium, enough to meet global demand for car batteries 9 times over by 2030. This discovery could have a significant impact on the EV market. The lithium is estimated to make up 36 to 136% of current U.S. reserves, so they're still not exactly sure what the reserves versus the thing is. ExxonMobil aims to start lithium production by 2027, supplying enough for over 1 million EVs annually by 2030. They're using direct lithium extraction technology. Say that 18 times fast. It could be more environmentally friendly, but remains largely unproven. Catherine Ninnerum, I'm going to go silent K. There's a silent K on the beginning of that. A hydrologist and the study's principal researcher estimates there's enough dissolved lithium present in that region to replace U.S. imports of lithium and more, which is a massive deal. Also, still wild that it's only 9 times the global supply by 2030, which is still, if you multiplied that by 9 years and there was no growth, or 9x and there was no growth, would still be concerning as to how much lithium supply we need in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
But, a big find for homegrown lithium production.
Yeah, and with GM, so GM, actually not that far from where I live, they still are working on building their 5th lithium plant. For actually creating those battery packs. So one thing that was missing, not like a whole lot, but one thing that they were trying to figure out in the supply chain was where they're going to source these, not only for the next 5 years or 10 years, the actual lithium itself, but where that's going to be the next 15 or 20 years. And my guess is that this is going to make a huge impact to the 5 and now going to be 6 factories for those lithium battery plants for GM and LG and Samsung through that joint venture.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it is a big deal to kind of have lithium discovered in the U.S. and on home soil, because that import export type stuff is a big deal, and obviously bunch of manufacturers looking for where they're going to get the supplies for this net new thing that they've never had to deal with as a part of their manufacturing process and supply chain management. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Yeah. Speaking of seeing where it goes.
Segue
time. Yeah, so the FAA has released long-awaited final regulations for electric vertical takeoff and landing, or EVTOL, or eVTOL. People say it different. Aircraft, marking a major step toward the future of air travel, including air taxis and cargo delivery. It is obviously the first new aircraft category since helicopters in 1940. And there's been a long awaited kind of hope for these new regulations. Pilot training will include single flight control for powered lift aircraft, simplifying instruction. And industry players like Joby Aviation and Archer plan to launch their air taxi services soon. With Joby's CEO praising the FAA for delivering the new regulations ahead of schedule. That's kind of an impressive thing, little government thing ahead of schedule. Yeah. FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker said this historical will pave the way for accommodating wide-scaled advanced air mobility operations in the future. Jordan, I can see you getting your eVTOL pilot's license. Like, that's a thing you would do.
What's funny is someone sent me, it must have been Paul, a few weeks ago, there is a single person eVTOL vehicle that you can buy. It's like a go-kart, but as a helicopter that you can actually fly. Yeah,
so silly.
And the soonest you can get one is, I think it's 2036, because it's still like 2 years out. So,
oh my goodness,
what works so well in this is the battery range for either for like an airplane or for a helicopter is, let's say, I think it's 200 miles because of the battery consumption that can take place.
Right, and the weight.
And what works really well is when you do the short range taxi part of it. because there's a lot of people that still use helicopters to get from a very close point to somewhere else. I think of metro areas like DC,
Yep.
New York City. They do that a lot, and it's a huge industry for helicopters. So this is a great way to introduce that. Just like the FAA president said, this is the first step in that. And
Yeah,
this is ways that they
I'm
can
all
introduce
about
that.
it personally. Like that 45-minute drive that you know, especially like business travel when you're flying into a place and you need to get 45 minutes quick to a meeting, something like that.
Exactly.
I'm all about this as an opportunity, and I don't know if I'll be the first one to jump in one, but I'll definitely be a fast follower. And it's cool because like people need to sell these things, right?
That's right.
And if I had to guess, there's going to be some dealers that are going to be knocking down the doors of these manufacturers trying to figure out how they can sell them. I mean, last week when we were at CMA, Liza was like, I don't know what mobility is going to look like, but we're going to serve the mobility needs of our community.
Yeah.
And so this is just another way where, hey, look, be paying attention to this vertical because it could be an opportunity for dealers everywhere to get in.
Yeah, I think Eliza, man, they were basically selling horse and buggy 100 years ago when they first started, right? What are they going to be selling in the next 100 years? Mobility, time and convenience.
There you go. Hey, we're mobility providers. You know what I mean, fam? Hey, today, go out there, love some people, serve some people, service drive, sales, anything. Love some people more than you love cars. Let's go.